Welcome back, everyone. I get started talking so much in here during the break that I started talking during the show. Okay, that's never happened before, but it's kind of fun. That's what a live show is all about. My next guest has not only been with me for at least 5 years, she's also been my sponsor. And also, you know, it's funny because after I have people on for so long, we become friendly, you know, we're friends. I have with me Anna Von Straussenburg. She's the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. Anna is all about excellence and integrity in accounting. You've got to talk a little bit about yourself first, and then we're going to kind of go into what we want to talk about today.
Okay, thank you, Carol. I love being on the show and I love being here once again.
Thank you.
Well, a little bit about me. I actually started off in California. I was going to become a teacher, and then my ex-husband said to me, you know, I think you ought to be in business. And so I quit my job at a school and applied around for some accounting positions, and I did apply at one real estate place. And I ended up getting a job at an accounting firm on the bottom rung as a receptionist. But you know what? When I was going back to school, working there really gave me an opportunity to learn about how the accounting firm worked, you know, because I did everything there from soup to nuts pretty much over my, I think I was there for about 6 years, and then I moved to another little firm there. And I ended up deciding to move to Arizona, and I got a job in Mesa, and I had looked up at the building when I first came, and I said, oh, that's a nice building. That would be a great place to work. And lo and behold, 6 months later, that's where I ended up in the job that I've been in for well over 20 years now.
Wow,
yeah, 22 and a half years I've been in the same building, and my boss wanted to retire, and his son didn't want to take over the business, so he offered it to me.
Yeah, and that's a compliment right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up taking over the business about 5 years ago, and I've really loved it and enjoyed it. And I, you know, my boss had become my mentor, so I learned a lot from him. And one of the things he taught me was about integrity. Because, you know, I had already known about it because, of course, you know, your parents teach you that kind of thing, and you learn about it when you take ethics in school. But he said to me one day, you know what, we work too hard for our license to do anything that would jeopardize it. So I always err on the side of caution, and I'm always go with excellence and integrity, and so that became my motto too. I just adopted that. You know, it's funny, that wasn't specifically his model, but when my employees were trying to get up my advertising together, they said, well, this is what you're all about. And I thought, well, that's great.
It is true.
Yeah.
And you exude it. It isn't just something that you're all about, you exude it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that,
Yeah.
because that's something that's really important for me. I strive for excellence, and you know what? One of the things my boss taught me, he said, if you make a mistake, let the client know as soon as you can. And you know, I had, you know, not even made a mistake, but I had mentioned something about a retirement plan. Well, lo and behold, it turned out that the client's kind of retirement plan she has a SEP, and she still can contribute to it. And when I apologized to her for getting back to her with the information so late, she's like, well, I know I'm a new client, and I love dealing with you, and of course things happen, and I'm glad you told me, and there's a cure for it, so we can rectify the problem. And she wasn't upset a bit, because I just came forward and said, well, you know, I kind of dropped the ball on this one, I forgot to ask you.
Hey, listen, you've been doing this for 20 years here, and let me tell you something. For one time, a little something, but she does stand by her work. That's something that you do. But you know, one of the things about you is that you have at least 2-3 sets of eyes that go through it, and you make sure that things are right. And God forbid that anything ever happens, you know, you're going to stand by it. If you yourself have given her the wrong information, which I'm sure happens a lot, right, then that's on you.
Yeah, and I really try to research something. If I don't know it, I have clients that ask me different things, and I had somebody come up recently and said, hey, you know, I have an S corporation. I understand I can make a life pay for a life insurance policy for the employees as a benefit. And, you know, in past years, I'd always been taught, oh, life insurance is not deductible, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I said, well, you know, the source that told you is a reliable source, and I'm gonna research it just to make sure. And sure enough, there is, you know, something, probably a nuance that changed years ago, and I just didn't catch it, because nobody has asked me about life insurance for years and years and years, and this person did. And yes, they can deduct it on the S corporation return, as long as the S corporation is not the beneficiary. Well, he and his wife are the beneficiaries, you know, if one passes, the other one gets it.
Mhm.
So that was something I learned from a client, but I researched it to make sure it was correct, because sometimes clients come in to me and say, oh, well, I heard this or that, and sometimes it's not correct.
Right. Now, let me tell you something about Anna. She is all about teaching you and to understand your numbers, to understand what she's doing, so you're working hand in hand with her. Her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. Her website is Arizona CPAs with an S.com. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. She works nationwide. She does second opinions. She does free consultations, and she's all about excellence and integrity in accounting. Today you said you wanted to talk about kiddos and taxes.
Well, first of all, the first subject I want to do is talk about, well, dependents. Who is your dependent? Well, and the reason I want to talk about that is there's some hiccups that happen with dependents who are getting a little older in, you know, in their teen years. First of all, anybody under 18 is your dependent, and as long as they live with you and you provide more than half their support. But if you're a parent, you don't even have to provide all their support, which is something that I didn't really have to address until recently. A client came in and they had been taking care of their granddaughter all year, but the daughter also ended up moving with them. So it turns out their daughter qualified to take her daughter as a dependent, and the grandparents could have taken that granddaughter as a dependent, except that the mother wanted to. And if the mother lives with a child, the mother has the option of allowing somebody else to take the child as a dependent, like a divorced spouse or a grandparent. But in this case, she chose not to, and too bad, so sad, the grandparents were out of luck.
Okay, I want to ask you, I'm not sure if this even applies with this, but a lot of people have older children, some of them even older than 30s, you know, that are now living with them, because a lot of people are having to do that today. That just is the way it is, and that's it?
Well, no, they become what they call other dependents, and they can still get a deduction for those dependents. It's only $500, and you can actually take that deduction for other dependents, even if there's somebody unrelated to you. But if they live in your household, you can claim them as a deduction, as long as nobody else can claim them as a deduction.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in that case, that can happen sometimes with, you know, maybe couples who are living together or whatever, but not married. Sometimes the one of the other members in the couple are able to deduct the person as a dependent, because the mother is not doing so and is not filing a return. So there's all these weird rules.
There are weird rules,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people may be happy to hear that, because a lot of people have their adult children
Yeah.
living with them now.
Now, there's a little, one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is because if the child is they're not really a child, between 18 and 24, and they're a full-time college student, they are still eligible to be your dependent as a child. The oops that happens there is sometimes that child goes out and gets a job, and without consulting mommy and daddy, they file their own tax return to get a refund of the $200 that was withheld. And they forget to not claim themselves as a dependent. They forget to mark the box dependent of another. And the sad thing is they probably would have gotten a refund regardless of how they declared themselves, and then the parents aren't able to take them as a dependent. And we have that happen. Sometimes we'll go ahead and file the parent's return, and oops, it gets rejected because somebody else claimed that kid.
Well, it's all about making sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and that's what she
Yeah.
does. Again, her phone number to call, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. It's Arizona CPAs with an S.com. Hang tight, we'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah. So maybe when we come back on, I'll say it now, that you gotta talk to your semi-adult children about what they're gonna do with their taxes.
Yeah, most of them don't.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different rules, it's very complicated, and I guess that's why people should consult a CPA, because there's a lot of complicated rules, and even so, the kids do things unbeknownst to the rest of us.
You know, I only wish that you could go back, but it's too late now, because I didn't know that, and I had Lissa living with me. She wasn't going to school, she was.
Oh.
Yeah, I had her living with me,
Oh,
and I never even mentioned it to, anybody.
and she wasn't supporting herself?
Not 100%, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't make her pay me rent or anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Maybe I should have.
Because sometimes, if they make more than, I can make that point when we come back, 5,050, then you can't claim them, so.
Oh, okay.
We'll
So
make
there-
that point when
probably
we come
maybe
back,
was
yeah.
it. That's probably.
We sort of ran out of time a little bit.
For a second there.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden, he's like counting down, I'm like, oh.
I know, because when you don't wear those either, you can't hear the music, so it's
Oh.
like, yeah, that's okay.
Well, I watch his fingers, I
Yeah.
watch him counting down, so that way I'm always looking right at the camera.
The caveat, there's always a caveat
Yeah,
to taking the deduction.
yeah.
We'll bring that up.
I can hear hear it a little bit anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, even though I don't have 1 minute, he says.
the time is flying, not
I
just here,
know.
but everywhere, every day.
Oh, I know, I'm like, can't
week is
believe
over.
it's May already.
I can't believe next week it's mid-May.
I know.
It's scary. And also this week, look at it's Thursday. Does it feel, it feels like it should be Monday or
Yeah, I
Tuesday.
know, this week's gone by very fast.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the day and the week, the month and everything, the year, it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, who put everything on fast forward?
That's not the new ad. And I was very specific. So welcome back, everyone. So we are talking with Anna Von Straussenburg. She's the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. And during the break, of course, we're sitting here talking about the kiddos, about that. And I learned something, but go ahead and tell everybody a
Yeah,
little bit.
there is one caveat for the other dependents, that they have to make less than $5,050 in a year before you can take them. So, in addition to them living in your household, and if they're living in your household and they're making less than that, you're probably supporting them too.
Oh,
So,
yeah, you
yeah.
are. But
Yeah.
if they're making money, you said there's one thing that you should do. You should, if you've got older children living with you, when it's tax time and they're gonna go ahead and put their, do their taxes, you gotta talk to them.
Yep, you really wanna talk to them and say, hey, we need to decide if you're gonna take the, dependency, or if we're the parents who's, by the way, we're paying for your college, so maybe we should get it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, yeah, that's important discussion to have with your college age students, because a lot of them go out and get jobs, and they, you know, take their TurboTax and they do it and they get to mark that box, so that's
Mhm.
important.
Now, her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. You do second opinions all the time. And she's all about excellence and integrity in accounting. And that phone number is 480-964-4030. It's Arizona CPAs with an S.com.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit, you know, this month is Mother's Day, is in this month, and so I wanna talk a little bit about kitty tax. And they literally call it that on some of the tax websites. And what it is if you have a child that's under the age of 18 and they have unearned income, like dividends and interest, and capital gains distributions, you can report that on your tax return. But if it's over $2,600, you have to report it at your tax rate. So, but now then, other times, the children do have to do their own tax return, or the parents do it for them, if they have capital gains from selling things like selling stock, they have to do their own tax return. You know, especially if it's over the $1,300 mark. You know, if it's not interest and dividends, you can do it on the parent's tax return. But the other one, you have to do it on the child's tax return.
Wow.
And also, if the child makes over $14,600, whether it's in a job or with investments, they have to file on their own. Actually, if it's with investments, they have to file over $13,000. They have to do their own tax return.
Well, they should be anyway.
Yeah, they should be anyway. But that's one of the things to know, if it's investment income, you know, for interest and dividends, they have to pay that at the parent's rate. And the reason that came about was back in the 70s, a lot of parents got smart and they were putting investments in the name of their kids, and, you know, not having to pay as much taxes because the kids were at a lower tax rate. Well, then the government got wise to that and said, well, no, if you're gonna do that, it's still gonna be taxed at the parent's rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, they always find out everything, it seems like, the IRS. I wanna ask you, and it's sort of off this, I'm not sure if you wanna say anything more, but I will say this. We just got finished with pretty much tax season, but a lot of people still have not done their taxes or not going to because they maybe don't, you know, have the money or what have you. So now afterward, it's tax season, what can you do for people?
Well, the best thing to do is to file the taxes as soon as possible. If they think they're gonna owe, the sooner they pay in, the less they're gonna be penalized. Unfortunately, you know, they're not gonna get as much penalty and interest if they pay in, and if they get it done sooner, you know, sometimes if it's just a first-time hiccup, you can request a penalty abatement. Unfortunately, they will never abate interest. So that's just by statute, they have to charge interest, but you can sometimes get the penalties abated or reduced. And I've done that many times over the years. I've learned how to talk to the agents. I remember that the person on the other end of the line is a human being, so I don't get irate and yell at them. I actually talk to them very nicely.
You know, that's the thing, I was gonna just say this. So many people, when you do it yourself, and a lot of people try themselves these days, but you know what, you are so invested with it and emotionally invested, and that's where you make your biggest mistakes. You start talking too much, or then you get upset and you start yelling, and then that's the end.
Yeah, so it's really important that if you have an issue with the IRS, it's, you know, unless it's something very simple, I really recommend most people let me handle it. You know, I've had a couple instances where the clients were really trying to save money, and it was just something simple like asking for an extension of time or whatever. You know, I said, okay, go ahead and do it yourself. But most of the time I recommend, if it's a complicated situation, to let me talk to them and let me, you know, see what I can do to reduce penalties, or even give them an extension of time, because, hey, they can't pay right now, they've got a hardship, and, I do my best to get the violins playing. So,
She's good at it.
Yeah.
That phone number is 480-964-4030, 480-964-4030. You mentioned something complicated, and you like complicated things.
yes, I've had the good fortune of working with clients, like businesses that had many, many different states. And so over the years, I've learned a lot about multi-state returns and about the laws in different states. I don't know them all, but I'm really good at looking them up, but I've learned quite a few of them, thanks to an employee that was doing business in many states, and to the point where one year I had to file 32 different documents for them.
Wow.
And that was back when we were still doing paper returns, so it was such a big stack of stuff. We had to send it not in one FedEx pack, not in two, we had to send 3 FedEx packs
Wow.
back to New York for the client, for their tax return, because they had so many tax returns, and we were still doing the vast majority of them on paper. A lot of the states hadn't gotten up to the plate in doing the electronic filing yet, so. And I don't think we were doing much electronic filing even for federal at that point, so.
Well, but if you have complicated tax returns, she's the one to talk to. I will also want to say too, that, for you, tax season isn't just April 15th, the month of April. It's all year round.
Yeah, I get, because people are on extension, and for businesses like S corporations and partnerships, the due date is September 15th, and then trusts are due September 30th, and individuals are due October 15th. And so we're pretty much working right up until October 15th. The only time not in tax season is between October 15th and maybe about the end of the year. I get a little breather, and that's when I do a lot of my continuing education. I go to a conference and learn about the next year. I do all kinds of courses in end of October and November, and then we start ramping up for the next year to start the whole process all over again.
And you help people with tax planning.
I do help people with tax planning.
That's a big part of it down at that time too. What are your final words for everybody
Well,
today?
one of the things I like to do with tax planning is I like to look at my clients' books at in October, or beginning of November, actually November, and I look at the books through October, so I can plan, help them plan for what to do. Should we contribute to a retirement plan? Should you buy a new vehicle? Do you need more assets in your business? And so that's one of the things I'd like to do, is do some pre-planning. In a perfect world, I'd look at their stuff more than that, but, that's the minimum I like to do is take a look in November for the 10 months and say, hey, well, this looks like you got a lot of income, let's see what we can do to make it smaller.
One thing I know about Anna is that she helps you understand, and when you understand, you could turn someone's business around. You've done it before.
Yes, I did help a client who ended up, he was losing money, and we found that part of the problem was their inventory was a little bit goofed up. We helped them fix that, and then he turned it around and was making money, and making so much money. He was netting over $1 million a year, and he ended up selling that business for $12 million.
Her number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. She does second opinions. She helps anybody out if you have been putting your head in the sand with taxes, because that's a lot of people have. Don't do it yourself. Let her do it. She knows how to do it, and she's good at it. She's all about excellence and integrity in accounting. Her website is Arizona CPAs with an S.com, and that phone number again, it's 480-964-4030.